So if you follow me on Twitter, you may have seen my reaction to other news that kind of was connected to the Robert Pattinson being eyed for Cytale, the villain role. This was also going around. Feature First is reporting on it, and this is what I responded to. Another new rumor that Dune Messiah will reportedly be filming from July to December. Characters which will be introduced are Cytale, Ferric, Leto II, and Ghanima. Additionally, the twins will be teens in the film, as there will be a time jump. Now, I reacted to that part of the news, the time jump specifically. Dune Messiah itself is just a challenging enough adaptation, but the rumor that this was from implies that he's also going to adapt Children of Dune in some respects, with the time jump to them as teenagers. I do cast a lot of doubt on that, because Denis Villeneuve didn't even do a time jump in the first book when there was one. And you're telling me not only will we jump forward at the start of Dune Messiah 12 years later, but we're also going to put another time jump within that. And all of a sudden now he has an interest to adapt Children of Dune. It would be terribly structured if you were to do that. And if you aren't doing Children of Dune in full, why would you even feel it's necessary to do the time jump to introduce the teenage twins? Just way too much going on with that, and it just contradicts everything that Denis Villeneuve has stated about Dune Messiah, his intentions with it, as well as the future of it. He stated numerous times that he would never go beyond Dune Messiah, that it was just his dream, Dune and Dune Messiah, and that was it. And I'm actually not familiar with this particular, I guess it's a scooper site, Nexus Point News. I don't remember if I've seen any scoops from them before that proved true. I can't speak as to the validity of this to begin with, but this is who's spreading this rumor. And they also initially start out by saying that Robert Pattinson is set to portray Cytale in Dune 3. That's how it begins. It's funny because they also mention Deadline, which they said they had an exclusive. I don't know. They're trying to all be first, I guess, to report it. In regards to that, with Robert Pattinson, it says Nexus Point News can exclusively report that Robert Pattinson is set to portray Cytale in Dune 3. This news follows Deadline's initial report that Pattinson was in talks to join the cast of the film in an undisclosed role. Nexus Point News has been tracking this casting for weeks now and can report that a deal is already closed or close to closing, although Deadline reported an offer has not been made. I don't know what their source is for that, and I'm not familiar with them at all. I don't know what their track record is, so I can't rely on that. That's where it started out. So along with all of this craziness with the Robert Pattinson news, in addition to that, this was going around. They also said that they have learned, in addition to Cytale's involvement in the film, other major characters set to appear in the film are the revolutionary Ferric and Paul and Shawnee's children, Leto and Ghanima. Casting is currently underway for these characters. With the inclusion of the twins, the film is set to include a major time jump as they will be in their teens. So that is what I'm going to address. So my thoughts. I already said some of it. My issue is that one line that it said, with the inclusion of the twins, the film is set to include a major time jump as they will be in their teens. So the biggest issue that I have with this, and why I think we should all just take it with a pinch of spice, is the assumptions that are presented alongside the rumors. The scooper isn't just stating a rumor, okay, that twins are being cast, but it's also making the assumption that with the twins, there has to be a time jump. It contradicts everything that Denis Villeneuve has stated about Messiah and his intentions for the future of the franchise. And I just want to point out that just because they're looking to cast Leto II and Ghanima as teenagers, that alone doesn't mean there will be a time jump in the film. A grown-up Aaliyah was cast in Dune Part 2, and as we know, there was no time jump. She was in Paul's vision, and I strongly suspect the same will be true for Messiah. If indeed the twins are being cast right now and being depicted as teenagers, that's my assumption. It has to be a vision of the future, and I think they're just misinterpreting a vision of the future as a time jump. There is a very important distinction between the two. The scooper's assumption implies that Denis Villeneuve will adapt both Dune Messiah, or at least a portion of Children of Dune as well. I just don't think that would be how he would want to do it. He's emphasized so many times that he would never go beyond Dune Messiah, that he feels that this would be where Paul's arc for him would reach a satisfying endpoint. And he also noted on numerous occasions that it would just be so difficult to adapt anything further as the ideas and stories become more and more esoteric. And I think that the very idea that he has suddenly changed his mind right before filming is set to begin, that he would want to smash both Dune Messiah and Children of Dune into one movie, I think is ludicrous. So I think we can debunk that particular implication. But I do want to pull a direct quote from Denis Villeneuve, because I think it's very interesting and relevant to his approach for Dune Messiah specifically and the future of the Dune franchise. This is an article from Screen Rant. Dune 4 will be set up by Dune Messiah. Denis Villeneuve teases seeds of the difficult later books. I've seen this quote before, I've seen this interview before, but I think now with these rumors, if there is any validity to them, it's very interesting to see what he plans to do for Dune Messiah in opening the way or even setting up the seeds for future adaptations of the saga. This article was published September 2024, so not that long ago. So the article begins by saying, Denis Villeneuve addresses his future involvement in the Dune franchise beyond the events of Dune 3. Villeneuve helped introduce Frank Herbert's tale of warring space-bound families to a new generation in a two-part adaptation of the first novel, with both movies released in 2021 and 2024 respectively. The third movie that will be helmed by Villeneuve is set to bring the events of Dune Messiah to the big screen. As the franchise's continuation seems likely, the director addressed whether he would remain with Dune beyond his next movie while speaking to Vanity Fair. Despite stating that he intends to move on after dedicating himself to 3 movies, he will use Dune 3 to lay the foundations for future installments. So this is Villeneuve's full response. Listen, if Dune Messiah happens, it will have been many years for me on Arrakis, and I would love to do something else. I think that it would be a good idea for me to make sure that in Messiah, there are the seeds in the project if someone wants to do something else afterwards, because they are beautiful books. They are more difficult to adapt. They become more and more esoteric. It's a bit more tricky to adapt, but I'm not closing the door. I will not do it myself, but it could happen with someone else. So several things about this particular quote. Even more interesting with these rumors is that he wants to make sure that there are the seeds in Dune Messiah if someone wants to adapt the later books. And I think Children of Dune should be adapted. The author himself viewed those first 3 books as one long story, and all of the characters, most of them are present for the events of Children of Dune, and it completes many of those character arcs, and that is the author's intended full arc when it comes to those books that they encompass. So it's interesting that he's open to not only someone else coming in, but that he wants to lay the seeds for the future. And maybe that's what he intends with the teenagers, the vision of the future with the teenage twins, Leto II and Ghanima, teasing the entire future of the Dune saga with the twins, Paul's offspring. That would be a very interesting way to tease that there's more to the story. And I do feel that if there was going to be this time jump and we just all of a sudden at the end of the Dune Messiah story, we jump forward and now we're into events of Children of Dune, that I think would be closing the door to someone else coming in to do the story. Because if you're already going into the events of Children of Dune, I think that would just make someone else coming in, that would make their job that much more challenging and difficult if you already started it. I think that would, in a way, be closing the door to another creative coming in with their own adaptation of Children of Dune. I just don't think that that's what he would do. With this statement, not only does he reiterate again, after 3 Dune movies, he's done, because that's his dream, to encompass Dune Messiah and to have that arc end for Paul Atreides there, but also he is fully willing to plant the seeds for someone else to do Children of Dune and beyond. So I think the core of this rumor is actually very exciting when you think about it, because I would love to see Children of Dune adapted as well. I think there are numerous directors who would be well suited, since it's a time jump and it's a different story. I think it would be fine if another director would come in and offer their vision of this particular story. So I think the most logical conclusion that there is to draw is that just because teenage twins will be cast and in the film in Dune Messiah, I think we can just debunk altogether that we're going to time jump into Children of Dune. I think that would just be way too messy and way too challenging already for this adaptation. Just think it's far more likely that it's in Paul's vision that we will see the future. Similar to Anya Taylor-Joy in Dune Part 2, when we see the grown-up Aaliyah, I think it's going to be very similar to that, because it just doesn't make sense to me otherwise. And it does make sense, to a degree, for the source material, that Paul might see them in the future. It will be tricky to adapt, but I think it could be very interesting if they did do that. But I'm curious to know what you make of this rumored time jump in casting of the twins. Do you share my suspicions about this report, given everything Villeneuve has said about his plans for the adaptation? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more sci-fi and fantasy news, theories, and lore. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, you can leave a super thanks or join as a YouTube member for early access to new videos and other perks. You can also check out my Patreon page for exclusive content. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.